Hey everybody, welcome back to more Showdown reveals. And up today was Druid, it turned out. I can't remember the first person, but Kibble just showed some recently. And boy, has Druid got a lot of interesting and cool stuff to play with. If you thought Druid was, dead, well, they're being resurrected fairly soon. And they're resurrected in the form of dragons. Their entire package, well, almost their entire package is based around dragons. And in the past, Dragon Druid decks, especially Dragon Druid Highlander decks, have worked. So there is a precedence there. And immediately, the first card I saw was like, okay, it's going to be Dragon Druid again. 2 mana 2/1 dragon, Splish Splash Whelp. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, gain an empty mana crystal. Back in the Highlander dragon deck, and actually the non-Highlander versions ran this. This card caused a lot of menace. It was such a strong card. It was draw a card. If you're holding a dragon, you get an empty mana crystal. The effects are very, very similar, but instead of drawing a card, you get a 2/1 instead. Probably Breath of Dreams is, he's on the slightly stronger end, but Splish Splash Whelp, the dragon package will be a thing, and this card will go straight into that deck. Lovely dragon. Then we have Spinetail Drake, 4 mana 5/4 dragon. If you're holding a dragon, deal 5 damage to an enemy minion. Again, we have a little bit of precedence of this. We have the Amber Whelp in standard right now. 3 mana 3/3 dragon that does 3 damage. Note, it is just 3 damage. It's not to an enemy minion, so it could go face. I've seen people, humoring playing this in a deck with dragon themes. Namely, Dragon Paladin from like a set or two ago. And Crowd Roaster from the past. This was a 7 mana 7/4 dragon. If you're holding a dragon, you dealt 7 damage to an enemy minion even. Sorry, I can't speak. I'm too excited. Now, Crowd Roaster did see some play in, I think actually in the Highlander Dragon Druid. They need some form of control, and Druid's typically not great at it, so a minion that can pump out 7 damage to a minion and have a board presence is normally pretty good. However, typically you get an understated minion for that cost. Spinetail Drake isn't understated. 4 mana 5/4 is pretty average. And he does 5 damage. That's a solid card for a common. If you're following up, your opponent's turn 3 or your opponent's turn 4, they're unlikely to have more than 5 health. So you might be able to trade off that minion with the Drake and keep control of the board until you can get to your bigger, stronger dragons. And oh boy, do we have some bigger, stronger dragons coming up. Also, how do you make sure you have dragons in your hand? Well, we have Take to the Skies. 3 mana. Draw 2 dragons, give them +1/+1. Kind of hard immediately to ascertain if this is good. 3 mana for drawing 2 cards is kind of, it's like, nowadays that's kind of like the baseline, right? Giving 2 minions +1/+1, you could argue this is around about a mana and a half worth of value. But the important thing is, because the dragon package is all about having dragons in your hand, this card enables your other cards, so it's actually worth kind of more that they're packaged together. If I was going to draw a parallel, since Demons, which didn't really see any play, was 3 mana draw 2 demons. This has, +2/+2 on top of that. And typically Dragons, I would say, as a power level, have been better than Demons historically and probably in the current set. And the set since Demons came from. Also, there's going to be some Dragons we're going to show later, which really benefit from the +1/+1. This one is not too bad, is it? 4 mana 3/5 Desert Nest Matron. Taunt Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, refresh 4 mana crystals. Well, you thought, Druid and its Druid shenanigans playing incredibly mana-cheated cards. Maybe, the Hearthstone team are going to, tone that down a little bit. Nope, they're not. This is effectively, if you're holding a dragon, 0 mana 3/5 Taunt. Do you know when I got so excited over the Minecart Cruiser saying it's a 3 mana 4/5 Rush? 0 mana 3/5 dragon with Taunt. That might be buffed. It could be a 4/6 or something like that. That is insane as a card. This will go into... Honestly, this will go into any Dragon Druid deck. The requirement of holding a dragon is so easy to fulfill, especially since a lot of dragons at high mana cost, so you're going to hold them for the later game. It's going to be a 0 mana 3/5. It's just simple. It's 0 mana 3/5 with Taunt. Disgusting again. Druid normally struggles to deal with the early game, they struggle to deal with wide boards, lots of tokens. This is a nightmare if you're playing a token deck. They just throw on, 2 0-mana 3/5s, just throw out 0-mana 6/10 taunt. That's your ass. You're not going to be able to break that down and aggro them down. It's such a strong card for this kind of slower, I don't even say control deck, it's more like a mid-rangey value deck. Insane. Now we go to the other card that is actually incredible. 7-mana 3/4, Taunt. It's a Dragon Golem, by the way. Battle Cry. Summon a copy of this for each dragon in your hand. That is also unbelievable. Now, by turn 7, you'll have probably drawn like 3 or 4 cards, 4 or 5 maybe even, considering that you're probably going to put some draw options into your deck. There's a decent chance you're going to have, by turn 7, 3 dragons. I think that's a bit of an underestimate, to be honest with you. This thing, if you have 3 dragons in your hand, is a 7-mana 12/16. That is really good with Taunt as well. Just to further slow down any aggressive decks. Bearing in mind, Spreading Plague, which was the bane of people's existence in earlier Hearthstone metas, gave you a 1/5 Scarab with Taunt, and if your opponent had more minions, it cast it again. Admittedly, I think it was a little bit cheaper, Spreading Plague, in the past. But this was enough of a roadblock that people just despised playing against Druids. This has 1 fewer health, but 2 more attack. It is super dangerous, and if you, go all the way back, if you give this +1/+1, which is fairly reasonable, then you're getting triple the boost on that. Now, unfortunately for, any Druid connoisseurs out there, there's not that many other ways to boost the attack of this. But Saloon Brewmaster, that is another way. You could easily generate a big board of these, like, get 3 or 4 of them, bounce one back with Saloon Brewmaster, give it +2/+2, and then do it again. That's value, baby! We've also got the spell Dragon Tails. 2 mana, choose 1. Get 2 random dragons that cost 5 or less, or get 2 that cost more than 5, sorry. Interesting card, it's a big value add. I've not put the card on here, but the one that I immediately thought of when I saw this was Jackpot, the rogue spell, that gave you 2 spells that cost 5 more from another class, right? It kind of has those vibes about it. If you want the value, you're going to pick the second option. If you want the tempo, you're going to pick the first option. What I think you're actually going to do, though, is play Disciple of Eonar in your what will probably be a Highlander Dragon deck, spoilers. And you'll get both options, i.e. you'll get 4 dragons. Hey, that's going to be really good when, you have your Dragon Golem as well in hand, to just on turn, 6 or turn 4, gain 4 dragons. That's going to be a big thumbs up from me. Now we get to the legendaries. We have the 9-mana 4/12, Phi, the Setting Sun, Rush, Lifesteal, Taunt. Cost 1 less for each dragon you summon this game. Now, historically, in the past, there's been a decent series of dragons that are 9-mana 4/12s, like, Ysera and the like. So it's not a completely unreasonable stat line. It is a bit understated. Obviously, if you're discounting this heavily, and let's be honest with you, if you're playing Dragon Druid, you're probably playing dragons for the most part. By turn 9, when you're going to be playing this, or you might want to play this, you could easily have discounted this 6 times. 3-mana 4/12, Taunt, Lifesteal. Again, if you're up against aggro, this is the game breaker for you. If you can't break through this by a spell, your Druid opponent is going to heal all the way back up, your board is going to be destroyed, and you are going to be crying rivers of salty tears. Very strong card for Druid. Again, I think this will go into a Highlander Dragon deck. And now we come to the big payoff. Why would you run Highlander? Why have you been insisting on Highlander for this entire episode? Well, we have the other legendary, Riestraza, the 8-mana 8/8 dragon. Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, summon the Purified Dragon Nest. And the Purified Dragon Nest is, at the start of your turn, discover a dragon. Discover, by the way, so you get to pick a dragon that's good. It costs 4 less. That's right, Druid has infinite value. Brilliant. This is going to be a class I'm going to be playing on the opening day for certain. I mean, what can you say? Dragons typically, you know, better than the average tribe. They get a 4-mana discount as well. You're just going to be vomiting onto the board giant dragons. They're going to be feeding their other dragon effects, like, because you're always going to be holding a dragon. And, like, if you can imagine grabbing some of the new dragons that are being added, like the one that, I was going to say the one that refreshes 4. Conceivably, that's going to be a 0-mana dragon that refreshes 4 mana. Like, it's a -4, 3/5. It's just, it's bonkers. It truly is bonkers. Now, you might be saying, you know, Highlander, it's going to be difficult because there's not that many dragons, surely. There's quite a lot of good dragons, honestly. So, Sunspot Dragon is being added with the new set. I don't think this will make the deck, but if any class was going to run a 6-mana 6/6 that dealt 6 damage on a quick draw, it's probably Druid, just for catch-up, and it has lifesteal as well. Something that Druid probably will sorely need if they don't have many better control options. Topia will probably find its way into this deck because there's a decent amount of nature spells. Timeless Proto Drake, I didn't even mention this. This card kind of went under the radar, got forgotten about. When you draw it, you add a random dragon to your hand. What do you want? Dragons. How many do you want? All of them. That will certainly make the Highlander list. Starlight Whelp. You know, you're running one of everything. The Starlight Whelp gives you a chance to get a 2 of something. Very nice. I think Amber Whelp will be in there as well for a little bit of value. And Twilight Drake, I think you're going to be running a pretty big hand. You know, you're just going to be slapping down, bam, a dragon. Next turn, bam, a dragon. You're probably going to end up with a big hand at some point of just, you know, dragons you can't play. And then Twilight Drake will come out there and be a big boy that is hard for an aggro deck to deal with. I think this Dragon Druid deck is going to be very interesting. I don't know if it's going to quite cut the mustard. We do have some ramp Druid, and Druid's in a really weird spot right now where people aren't quite sure what to do with it. So we'll see. I'm sure there are even more insane shenanigans people can do with the Titan and, you know, just stuff like that. I'm looking forward to trying to put a list together. Then there was 2 final cards, which kind of just went there. They don't really fit into the Dragon package, but maybe they will do. Rehydrate, 2-mana nature spell, restore 7 health. If you quick draw it, you refresh 2-mana crystals, i.e. quick drawing this card, if you have 2 mana, it's basically 0 mana, 7 health. Healing Touch in the past for Druid was 3 mana heal 8, so for 1 less mana, and 1 less health, you're getting what is like Healing Touch, if you don't quick draw it. If you quick draw it, obviously 0 mana, 7 health is pretty good. The problem with healing, though, is you're not really progressing the board state that much, right? You kind of want another effect on top of the quick draw. Now, that other effect might be because it's a nature spell, and it could be a 0-mana nature spell, Topia, so I'm not going to say this card won't see play. I think it will do, and in fact, it may see play in the Dragon deck. Give you a little bit of extra survivability, be a 0-mana spell for Topia, you know, and if you're running Highlander, you're going to be running some cards that aren't optimal because you're running one-offs. Maybe Rehydrate just makes the cut of that deck, but I don't think it'll make everyone's cut. And then the final card to end on an anticlimax. 1 mana, nature spell, Cactus Construct. Discover a 2-cost minion, summon a 1/2 copy of it. What a random card. I guess this is more for a aggro totem druid deck. Totem? What am I talking about? Token druid deck, sorry. Totem druid would be wild. It is a nature spell, so, you know, it might see play for the Highlander because of Topia, but I don't think it will. Going out there and looking at the pool of potential cards, I think these are like the 6 of the better ones you could potentially pull. You could get a Groovy Cat that makes your hero power better for the rest of the game. Spirit of the Tides, you know, you could play this card for 1, you get a 1/2 copy of it, you might save 1 mana over, and it becomes, at the end of that turn, a 2/4 minion. So you might have played like a 1 mana 2/4. That's pretty good value. Gold Panna draws you a card, that's reasonable. Trapdoor Spider is annoying to deal with. Egg, obviously a really good get. Normally, the downside of the eggs is they can't attack because they have 0 attack. If you get a 1/2 copy of it, 1, you're going to kill it pretty easily, and 2, you can kill it pretty easily. It has only 2 health and it has 1 attack so it can attack, and you'll get a 4/4 from that. And then finally I put Thalnos on here as well. At the very least it's draw a card, but you might want the spell damage as well if, you know, you're healing and stuff. That being said, I went through the pool. I think there's about 67 cards. Don't quote me if it's like, you know, 68 or 69 or 66. And I think of those, about 10 of them are decent. So you're running at like a 1 in 7 chance. Therefore, I don't think Cactus Construct will see play. I think there are better nature spells out there. Anyway, that's going to do it for the Druid reveal. Let me know in the comments below which deck so far you're most excited to play, because honestly, there's a lot of cool decks out there that I really want to try. I like that it feels like not all of these decks are just added on to previous expansions. It feels like they're setting their stall for like almost every class gets a new archetype. And that's always, when the game is most fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, why not check out the next one, which I think is tomorrow. I think it's Demon Hunter next, but again, don't quote me on this one. But if it is, we'll do a Demon Hunter video tomorrow. Anyway, goodbye and enjoy the card games.